this video, I'm going to tell you what the CFMOTO 675 NK actually feels like to ride. No spec sheet lectures, no marketing crap, just riding impressions. Something about this engine makes me a bit sad. And to show you why, I need to start with the positives. Because there is plenty of good to say about this Chinese triple. The sound it makes is glorious. A classic 3-cylinder tune at its best. I was fiddling around with my sound recording methods a lot this year. The CFMOTO was yet another candidate, which unfortunately fell victim to my experiments. My recording simply doesn't do it justice. The bike creates a tune that sounds rich and truly sporty, without being obnoxiously loud. On top, you'll receive lovely bangs when quick shifting up. The NK certainly produces a satisfying sound. The gearbox feels adequate, which means that the feel on the lever is relatively solid and the gears fall into place noticeable enough. Just what you would expect from a bike from this price range. As the quick shifter is upshifts only, you have to supply the ref matching blips yourself. Getting the timing right was a bit tricky, likely due to the throttle free play, which is adjustable of course. I just didn't have time for that. The engine is nicely tuned, it runs smoothly. You can also run it around 30 km an hour without any surging, although this requires a bit of extra focus from the rider. In general, its throttle response was a bit jerky when going at slow speeds and revs, but in all other scenarios I was definitely pleased with it. Going through town in 6th gear is no issue at all, just as you'd expect from a triple. More of a surprise, in a good way though, was the lack of annoying vibrations. Only at Austrian motorway speeds of around 140 km an hour, I could feel a very mild tingling sensation in my hands, but not in a disturbing or numbing way. I found its behavior in all terms engine quite remarkable, especially since the NK doesn't have an IMU and also no ride-by-wire throttle. That's probably why I expected its traction control to interfere in a bumbling manner. The unexpected truth though was that it didn't bother me at all. You know my riding style. I'd say I'm going at a decent pace. Still, not once did I feel a rough power cut. I think it wasn't engaged at all, which would make sense. I grew up without TC, therefore my right wrist is, believe it or not, relatively gentle with applying throttle. Plus, the road I was testing the bike on offers a very good amount of grip, just like the stock tires, by the way. They offered yet another pleasant surprise. I was very happy with their performance. I unfortunately didn't test the safer TC setting level 2, but at least for level 1 I can assure you that the NK does not patronize you at all. Maybe the bike's cable throttle is responsible for it giving me some kind of very pleasing old school vibes. It's hard to describe, I just had the impression that it somehow felt more alive than many of its Euro 5 Plus counterparts. Which now finally lets me explain why the engine still was not able to make me truly happy. I unfortunately, and I really mean it, unfortunately, like sadly, didn't like its power delivery. Don't get me wrong, the bike does feel like delivering all of those 90 horses which it promises. Up there, it really pushes you forwards and is really enjoyable to ride fast. But somewhere in the lower revs, going into the early mid actually, there is a dent. From the very get-go, right at takeoff, it feels promising. But after that, it takes a good moment to gather actual punch. I can't put it into numbers, but there is a phase in the rev band at which it feels kind of sluggish. Once you've passed this, it absolutely does, please. I'd say it needs around 5000 RPM to overcome the mild dreariness. You won't fall asleep behind the bars, don't worry. But for my liking, it should offer more in the lower mid or a more explosive top end. As far as I know, you can't really have both with a Euro 5 Plus engine of this size. But to me, the compromise offered by the NK simply isn't ideal. Once you've surpassed the minor sluggish phase and enter the pleasing power range, it does deliver in a linear and not very exciting manner. You then hit a plateau in the top third, which will have you change gears before it really starts to scream. Otherwise, you will lose your fastest possible acceleration. There is no exciting spike up there. Its noticeable dent within the first third definitely killed some of my joy when going for a spirited pace, which made me sad. Because apart from this, the 675 triple certainly managed to really touch my soul, which is a rare occurrence in times of Euro 5 Plus. Although I also have to add that not all hope is lost, because who knows how much of a benefit shorter gears and a cheeky remap could bring. Having a look into optimizing its power delivery really would be worth it, because the 675 NK didn't just impress me with its pleasantly analog feel. Its suspension performance is really impressive as well, not just for its price range. I mean in general. I had my doubts at first because I was pleased how gentle the NK sent me over harsh bumps and cracks. I was almost sure that it wouldn't be able to deliver a high amount of stability, since at this price range you usually can't have comfort and sportiness. The CFMOTO, however, does give you both. Even on my alternative local test road, which I prefer over my usual one, it definitely delivered. Which means quite a lot, because this road here is very bumpy and therefore a real challenge for most motorcycle suspensions. But the NK never felt out of place. I mean, I do have to add that I wasn't putting it through all its paces because I wasn't moving my body much on the bike. However, I wasn't going slow, and I absolutely felt safe while doing so. Safe and comfortable. The compromise offered by its KYB components is very pleasing for sure. You can even lean it quite far before its pegs touch down. So now you'll understand even better why I'm so bothered by its subpar power delivery. The seating position I would call classic naked bike, so more on the old school side. You feel placed inside the bike and not so much on top. You're not aggressively leaned over the bars nor placed very close to them. But you're still able to receive a good amount of feedback from the front. Its knee angle was ordinary, so no complaints from my side. The seat is on the softer side. Unfortunately, I couldn't take the bike for a grand tour, so I can't judge whether it gets too soft at some point. I could also describe its handling as old school, but in a very good way. It surely doesn't have this ultra flickability that you'd experience on some of its competition. The NK does ask for a little bit of force on the bars to turn in. It doesn't magically fall into the corner by itself. But like I said, it's a little bit, not much. This small effort needed can especially be felt when going slow. The seating position and potentially the steering damper as well are no help when it comes to ease of movement at walking speeds. This is quickly forgotten as soon as you get going though. The CFMOTO might not be a miracle of agility, but it nevertheless handles really well. Moving the NK around happens in a harmonious manner. The bike's very neutral during lean and makes it easy to aim for your riding line of choice. The balanced handling in combination with the great suspension turn any twisty road into a source of unrestrained joy. Its stopping power isn't quite as impressive as its handling. In the Brakes category, you basically receive what you would expect from a bike with this kind of price tag. Meaning that you are able to slow down efficiently, but only when you apply a proper amount of force to the lever. What you're feeling in your right hand when doing so has to be described as being on the mushier side. There is no sharp biting point, which at least also means that dosing your brake force can be done without concentrating hard. Like I said, no surprises here. The only actual drawback can be felt when the bike's ABS starts to kick in. It does so rather early, especially at the rear, but that's only a mild annoyance. In the front, however, it's a factual issue. My test road comes with a few bumpy braking zones, and fortunately I always enter these with enough reserves. Because not only does the NK's ABS work in pretty slow intervals, it also steals a big chunk of your precious stopping power. Definitely too much. Also for a relatively cheap bike. I'm concluding my review with saying that the CFMOTO 675 NK could be a solid choice for many riders. Me not liking the way it delivers its power is a subjective matter, not a technical flaw. And still, this bike actually managed to entertain me a lot more than many of its competitors. It handles nicely, is enjoyable at both a leisurely and a spirited pace, and most importantly, it really succeeded in touching my soul. It absolutely would work as a daily, and since it's definitely not aggressive, it could also be handled by beginners. Hats off to CFMOTO for making a bike in 2025 that has character, works well, and does not cost a fortune. Thank you very much for watching and listening. As more and more people focus on the review parts that can be found in most of my raw onboard videos, I decided to give this here a try and share all of my riding impressions instead of just a few lines of written text. Please tell me in the comments how you feel about this. Did I manage to give you a good sense of what it's like to ride the 675 NK? Could this video help when it comes to a potential buying decision? Please let me know. There's also no need to worry. These reviews will not replace my onboards. I'll keep on making RAWs as long as possible and add these more extensive reviews on top. The full CFMOTO 675 NK RAW onboard is going to be released soon. Hit the subscribe button to not miss that. Stay tuned and speed safe.